What's up, Marvel Snap players? Welcome back to the Cutlass Board Games channel. I'm Keith, and I've been a game designer as my main job for the last 7 years. And I want to talk to you a little bit about why you hate Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is a Marvel Snap card, surely one of them of all time, with the ability on reveal to destroy all enemy cards here that have 10 or more power. The design intention behind Shang-Chi is to punish your opponent for being too greedy and way over investing in a particular lane. But let's talk about why that's not necessarily the case. First of all, Shang-Chi is the most played card. It's not close, and it has a very confident win rate in 55%, all the way up to 58% when played. For a tech card, this is kind of insane. If you have a look at some of the other things on the list, the first real hate card that you will see here after that is right at the bottom over here with Killmonger. And Killmonger being a impactful card in the earlier stages of when you are playing Marvel Snap, you don't have a lot of a collection, and Zoo is like really common, and Killmonger is a good solution for that. A lot of the time, in more collection complete kind of bracket, you will see Killmonger as just an enabler for something like Deadpool, and yet still, it's 100,000 times less played, which is insane. Right, and against Zoo, Killmonger would win the game because you destroy all of their things. Same with Bounce, like you destroy all of their things, and yet it's still not as bad as Shang-Chi. So here's the first problem. Shang-Chi is non-symmetrical. This is a thing that I've been talking about for a long time, and I'm often in the Twitter DMs being like, first thing, change Shang-Chi to be symmetrical. Every tech card in the game is all, or every lane, or symmetrical. We've got armor. The entire lane, things can't be destroyed. We've got Cosmo. I can't play on reveal things in my Cosmo lane. Killmonger destroys everyone's one-cost cards, and so on. Shang-Chi is non-symmetrical. Shang-Chi destroys only my opponent's things. And the one case that I think in particular where this is very annoying is Monster Island. Monster Island gives both players a 10 power monster. And you can see in my very old tutorial image that I found online that if you Shang-Chi into the monster lane, you don't need to do anything else. You've destroyed all the power that they got there for free, and you just got 10 power for free, which is kind of ridiculous. And again, even if Shang-Chi was symmetrical, it doesn't solve its problem. Even if Shang-Chi is symmetrical, you still like win that lane by 3 if your opponent has played no other thing. If your opponent has played just one gigantic thing, and you destroy that, you still win that lane by 3. So Shang-Chi being non-symmetrical is kind of insane, and you just aren't forced to play around your own strategy like you would with Cosmo, like you would with armor. There's no downside. You just always get a gigantic power swing for free. You just put it in the right lane, you win the game. Next, let's talk about Shang-Chi versus some other infamous cards. If you've been playing for a while, you might remember Leader being a greatly hated card, because what Leader would do is you would play it and you would copy everything that your opponent did on the final turn, basically making it irrelevant, except you would get 2 more power than they would. So if you had created somewhat of a parity in a particular lane that they were trying to now win, you would copy exactly what they did. You would get the exact same power that they did, or if it had like an on-reveal effect or something like Venom, you would get even more because it would activate again. Venom's maybe a bad example, but anyway, and then you would win that game with a point equity of 2. And then everyone complained about it, and they changed it. The Leader has now been nerfed and does something different. And then Alioth. Alioth basically said, fuck whatever you're trying to do on the final turn, I don't care. I'm not even going to look at it. You should have retreated. You should have been winning by now. And then again, Dave nerfed this as well to bring it more in line with what you'd expect. And the play rates of these cards drop dramatically, but they're still playable in a particular niche. right? Like, Alioth still does work well in a lockdown deck, but you can't just play Alioth in every deck for free, because if you just get in front, you win the game with Alioth. Shang-Chi has the same problem. If you just get in front and your opponent is relying on one big thing in one place, you'll just win that lane. And then if you're in front in one other lane, you win the game. It's that simple. There's no reason to never not have Shang-Chi in your deck, especially because they continue to print cards with like big power, like most recently Cull Obsidian. And it's just so much free equity. But additionally, Shang-Chi doesn't cost 6. Shang-Chi does all this. Same thing Goliath could do, potentially, maybe even worse. And it doesn't cost 6, it costs 4. So you could additionally play other things on that final turn. You could put out a 2-drop that gives you a bunch of power equity, and it has more base power. So Shang-Chi can arguably do what Goliath does for cheaper and more power, which also seems crazy. But then here's the thing that really bites me. Shang-Chi breaks the fundamental promise of the game. Now let me explain. When you were taught how to play Marvel Snap, you were taught that you have to have bigger number in a location to beat your opponent. And your opponent's playing big number, so you have to play bigger number. But not that big a number. You've been greedy. You've played a totally reasonable number of things, because like there's so many cards that have 10 or more power, or you buffed your guys to get big enough, or you played big number. I'm sorry, you did the thing that the game asked you to do, and now you're being punished for it. I've destroyed everything that you've got, and I've won. Which makes no sense. Every other tech card attacks a specific strategy that is not the core of the game. I can't win the game by playing 12 things with an ongoing effect, but you sure as shit can Enchantress and remove them all. I can't win the game by destroying a bunch of things, but you can definitely play armor in a lane and stop me from doing that. And still, it's all about a specific strategy. Shang-Chi breaks that promise by just going, oh, you played big number, just like the game told you to do. I'm now going to win the game instead because you dared play big number. When instead, if, like the original design intention, Shang-Chi was trying to punish you for being too greedy in one lane, let's say, for example, you played Wong into Shuri into Red Skull, you've got 56 power or whatever it is in that particular lane, and then you play Tribunal in a different lane so that you've now got 3 lanes of 20-something, and Shang-Chi is used on that Red Skull, I understand. You've destroyed the gigantic thing, and Tribunal's putting in all these other lanes. That makes sense. That's a great use case for Shang-Chi. That lane, you can't play something bigger than that much setup time. And it makes sense to punish that player for being greedy. Whereas differently, if you just played Cull Obsidian, or you just played Hulk, like vanilla 12 power Hulk, and then someone Shang-Chi's you and they win off the power trade on that, that seems a bit ridiculous. I've wasted my entire final turn just playing Hulk. I'm not being greedy. I'm playing an arguably underpowered card. I think you could scroll for some time before you would find Hulk without the extra abilities given to him. And I don't think that is a fair play pattern. I don't think that is a fun play pattern. And I don't think that goes alongside with the final goal of what Shang-Chi is trying to be. But that is what I wanted to talk about today. I'm not even going to propose a solution. Most of the time, when I do this kind of thing, I go, hey, we should try and fix this thing. With Leech, Leech was a big problem. People were like, oh my god, Leech is horrible, please fix this. And then they did. They changed it so that it was much more consistent. It would not activate before the final turn. It moved more in line with its original design goal. Shang-Chi is not in line with its original design goal, and I think that there's some things that need to happen for that to be the case. It needs to be symmetrical, so that is in line with every other tech card. If the point is to punish someone for being greedy, then define a big number that's very greedy, like 15. Like, if someone has something that's 15, or 14 Red Skull, you know. Someone has a gigantic thing in a lane, like Giganto, like Red Skull, like Infinite, sure. I understand that being destroyed. 10 is too low. It just destroys everything. It destroys my chance at winning. But that is it from me. I like to talk about these kinds of things when it comes to use cases, when it comes to design philosophy, because when it comes to honing your skills as a game designer, it's worth looking at the existing things that are popular and doing well and seeing the choices that they make and why the players complain about certain things, because a player might not be able to articulate a solution to a problem, but they can definitely find a thing that made them upset and angry and not enjoying the game. I can tell you for a fact that before they played Alliance, every time that card came on screen, I'd log out. What's the point of playing the game if my opponent gets a whole extra turn than me every single time I play the game? There's no point. And so if they're creating a negative play pattern, then that card needs to be changed. And I believe that Shang-Chi being played 100,000 times more than Killmonger is ridiculous and needs to change. And what do you think? Do you have a solution as to what should happen to Shang-Chi? Let me know in the comments. I'm definitely open to discussing, talking about it. I want to hear what your ideas are. And while you've scrolled down, you might as well click the like and subscribe button, because those things make me feel happy. Big number is always great. Just don't Shang-Chi my subscriber count, because it is above 10.